What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man, and I'm so happy. I am a little tired, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a long couple of days. Hopefully, everyone had a good couple of days. Um, let's see. This one is going to be a special one. Shout out to my homie from another mother. His name is Nikolai Ruck. Grew up with him early childhood, and then actually we went to the same college. And unfortunately, just a couple days ago, we got the news that he passed. He was in a coma for about 13 years, and yeah, it was tough. It was a tough couple of 13 years. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think I was more present initially, years into it, and then really being out of state. There's not really an excuse for not following up with his mom. Like that's the one thing. Obviously, like when things like this happen, there's moments of perspective to like think and look back and be like, what could I have done better? Or, was I a good person in that situation? And so I think initially, like obviously, other than sending positive vibes and hugs and love to mom, that's kind of like the next thing, right? Is like questioning, did I do everything I possibly could to at least be a good person or supportive in that situation? So that's something that I'm gonna think about and question. I feel like for anyone that has gone through a loss, family, friends, or somebody close, obviously it's part of life, and I feel like those moments are reflective times as well, right? For yourself as the individual, and then also to prospectively understand that, like, things are not given, and we're not granted a certain amount of years, right? In regards to what can happen throughout our day, right? And then that these cyclical moments as well, because they are very much cyclical in regards to grandparents, family, friends, parents, kids, like that aspect of somebody maybe passing is very cyclical within anybody's life. So I think the thought would be, how do you deal with something like that, or how do you reflect, right? Like, or how do you use it as a reflective point for yourself, potentially reflecting on the relationship, reflecting on who you were with that individual, and if you were a good person when it came to that. I would assume that there's plenty of people out there that probably regret not mending relationships, for a loss, things like that. So I think it's a natural part of life, two, definitely a moment to reflect, and then of course to feel, right? Like take the time to feel what you need. And I think one of the things, no matter whatever situation, but I think that would pertain to this, would be, feel as much as you need to help you move or help you positively move forward, but don't let it negatively affect you, right? So like if you need to feel whatever the feeling is, feel that to a certain extent that helps you, ignites you, motivates you, or creates a positive change. But don't let these sad moments, or let these tough moments create feelings that can bring you into like a downward spiral and hurt you or negatively impact you. So like my story with Nikolai is like, we're always good friends, growing up when we were little. He part Brazilian, and like it was just a great relationship. That Nikolai was just always like a fun loving, kid, like, equally to me, I would say. We shared that, and we just hung out. Always had good, respectful relationship. And then here's a perspective. So here's like another good perspective of influence, right? Like understanding, remember, influence, thoughts, emotions, actions, which are decisions, and then outcomes. And so back in college, like Nikolai, like I went to Stockton College. Now it's Stockton University. However, like I think I was like a year or year and a half like ahead, because then he came later, he transferred later, or whatever it was. By that time, I was part of a fraternity, ZBT. Shout out to those guys. they were my influence for pretty much most of, and I don't want to say they in terms of just single people, but obviously as like the group, right? So the homies that were part of this group became a major influence in how I thought and how I did things and the environment that I was in and things like that. Some of it was great, and some of it, when looking back at it, it's like, damn, we probably could have done better things with our time or just like that moment. But I think for the experience and for the situational timepiece, I think it was a great experience. Now, I was part of a certain fraternity, ZBT, and then Nikolai was part of Pi Cap, which was a different fraternity, and somewhat like friendly rivals in certain areas, right? Like there was always like this rivalry like between us and everybody else, no matter what, and then I think vice versa. It was just that type of atmosphere, right? And so because of that, I felt like there were years or a couple of years, I would say probably like a year and a half or 2 years, that I didn't really have that close of a relationship with Nikolai in college because he was doing his own thing. He was with a different group of people, different influence, different fraternity, and so was I. And there was this macro level of like, you don't really want to hang out, which we did though in certain times. Like we were cool, or like we commingled with these fraternities. But then there was also just other factors of, either other members or people in your, in your class that maybe didn't feel like, it was the best thing to do. It was like hang out with, an opposite person of a different fraternity. Like it's just, it is what it is, right? That's what society accepted to be true. And in that moment of situational timepiece for me, that's what was happening. So I felt like I probably lost out on opportunities to have that friendship with Nikolai more in college, like I did back way when, right, in elementary, middle school, and even high school. And it wasn't until like after college or like the ending of college that I remember we got like back home in Woodbridge, we got an opportunity to like hang out again and reestablish like a good relationship. Once we were out of this other outside college influence, and we started playing soccer, like we would meet up and go to the high school and play soccer. And this was like early soccer career for me, like just fucking around, like I think I still had like football boots or something. But yeah, like football, like American football cleats. But that was great. And then I think, actually that was still during college because like it was during the summer that we got together. And I think it was like my senior year or something like that. And then later on, like a couple months later, I think I got a call from Tati, which is Nick's mom, and just ended up telling me that he got into a car accident and he's in a coma. So, and then since then, like, it was just like, I'm glad that I was able to have that relationship with him prior to that. But obviously just not a good situation in terms of him, unfortunately, being in coma and then, being in, it's been 13 years that Tati and Nick have been, in the relationship of him being in coma, and then Tati doing everything she possibly can to try to get him out of it. So that I would say is the perspective. If maybe you're dealing with it, or if you've dealt with it and there's something that you still need, or you're still working on, or maybe it's your reflective time period. So I would say when things like this happen, when a loss of someone close to you, use it as a reflective period, use it as a period to feel what you need to feel, but not so much so to the point where it's going to negatively affect you. Because I also feel like, it's, again, talking about prompting and asking these questions in regards to, hey, yes, this happened, or yes, the situation is the reality right now in terms of the person passing, but what would that person do or say to you? How would they respond to you and want you to move forward or take on, the future of your life, in terms, if they were still here and it was a different situation, maybe with somebody else or even with themselves, right? Like, how can you prompt yourself to that? And I know it's different for everybody, and I know it's at some point harder for other people depending on who it may be, but I also feel like at the end of the day, most people that we're connected to will probably want you to progress and be happy and positively move your life forward. So I think it's one of these situations where, you know, you can use it to reflect. You can use it to really feel. Like, obviously mourning is important and to feel that feeling, but just stay in tuned with making sure that it doesn't negatively affect you or put you in a negative spiral, and it actually moves you forward to taking more, you know, substance out of life, and to, you know, it's almost like a reminder to check yourself that things aren't granted, and to love the person next to you, or to really, like, you know, be present with your close family members, friends, coworkers, you know, fill in the blank. And then also a reflective period in terms of, you know, is there someone out there, or is there someone that you need to or want to mend a relationship with? And how do you do it, right? So I also think it's important to, I would say, take the action, right? But I think you also have to understand that it takes two to tango, right? And that, in that essence, in terms of a situation or a relationship, and then any situation, there's a relationship. It takes two parties, or two, you know, perspectives or understanding of the situation, or moving forward together to mend a relationship. So I would say, if that's a thing that you would want, or something that you're going with, is just understand that it's good to take the action, but understand that it does take two to tango. So if somebody doesn't want to dance right now, then you can only keep asking until either you get tired, or until the other person's ready to do it. And I think I've known people that relentlessly would keep asking until the other individual is ready, and it works out. You know, sometimes it doesn't, but I think it's definitely one of those moments or situations that you can actually get a lot from interperspectively, if that makes sense, in regards to, you know, having a loss, whether it's family, friends, or somebody close to you. All right, homies, that's pretty much it. I hope y'all had a great one on this one. Not trying to be a Debbie Downer either on this one, but just something to reflect on, and keep crushing it, right? And I hope things are going great for you. Just remember, it takes time, practice, and patience to keep changing the things that you want to change. You know, upgrading or progressing those situations that you're not happy with, and just moving it forward. Shout out to Tati, Nick's mom, Nikolai. We love you. Thanks so much for being awesome, and, you know, always having that smile or that laugh, making people laugh. You've definitely changed and affected people throughout your years. All right, homies. Thanks again. Have a great one. Enjoy yourselves. Keep crushing it. Remember, it's all the thoughts in our head. Become the Jedi Mind Master. Learn how to shut them off. And you can get there by prompting yourself with different questions and things like that to get these not happy or not so good thoughts out of your head, and move forward. All right, and don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Peace.